day, student. Welcome to the presentation, examination-based contact session that will help you in preparation of your upcoming examination 2020 on the subject called Biology, Didactic, and Learner Support. This module, you have the following modules: the DES or the ASC, ACSE, biology. Now, that is the content. Now, this module will help you to understand the methodology, how you are going to effectively implement the content, the biology content, to the Namibian learners so that they can excel very well in the subject. Let's start. We start with common terminology, the terminology of learning and teaching. What is learning and what is teaching? We start with learning. Learning involves an activity that changes behavior. Now, learning can be intentional or it can also be unintentional, meaning that we learn in different ways, either in a formal setting, in a non-formal setting, or the informal setting. Now, in your modules, there is a definition of learning, but you are also required to read. You can read on internet, you can read on any textbook that have the term learning. As long as that terminology, as you describe it, it have the following element of an activity that a person engage into that bring about changes, behavior changes, acquisition of new knowledge, skills, attitude. That is about learning. It can be intentional or non-intentional, but it involves a change in attitude, in change in behavior, acquisition of knowledge, or it enhances the specific knowledge or the skills that a person has. Teaching. Teaching is an action, an act that a person in charge is doing, and that individual is imparting skills and knowledge, attitude to a group of learners. Teaching is done with an intention. We have an intention in mind. Now, our context is biology. We teach in order to ensure our learner understand the basic competence and the objective stipulated in our syllabus. So these two terminology, learning and teaching, should be clearly understood. Now, again, as this is not a position where I expect you to recall, I expect you also to read different literature that is about teaching, so that when you explain the term teaching, you have more information on what teaching is. Let's talk about the approaches to changes on biology teacher. What are some of the approaches that a biology teacher should do, should carry out in the classroom when presenting a lesson that will bring about changes? Changes in allowing learner to understand the topic, the content in biology. Now, the next thing that I will also looking at is establishing the culture that will promote learning and teaching. Now, in a biology classroom, what are some of the ways that a biology teacher should do to establish a culture, and that culture that promote effective learning and making teaching pleasant. Teaching biology should not be boring. It's a lot of content, but it should not be boring. So there are ways clearly stipulated in your study modules there which promote a culture of learning, and not only learning but teaching biology in a pleasant way. So this culture will not only help a learner, but it will also help teachers to be able to teach biology in a pleasant, fun way. Let's talk about advantage of using a variety of teaching aids. Now, teaching aids are very important in biology because we do have abstract concepts such as enzymes, hormones. Now, you need to have teaching aid that will help learner to understand this abstract so that they can see it, so that they can understand it. So it's to improve understanding of this terminology. So we look at the advantage of using a variety of teaching aid. For example, games. It promotes participation. It promotes learning. It allows active participation of a learner. So because once you have game, you don't only have an issue of memorizing, you can see a learner is involved, and by involving the learner is more likely to remember. Good. So you really need also to look at the advantage of using a variety of teaching aid. And not only game, it can also be video, teaching aid like video, any visual teaching aid. Video, especially for in biology, video are very important because let's say you are teaching about the digestive system, but you are only discussing or explaining to the learner that we have esophagus, we have the pancreas, we have the liver, and this is how digestion or how food move along the alimental canal. This is how peristalsis, okay? But once you have a video that will really show to the learner how the process occurs in a human body, it will promote learning. And that is the main advantage of using variety of teaching aid. So the focus, you should not only focus on the games, you should also focus on the visual aids. Learner-centered approaches. It's a method of teaching. Now, when we are presenting our content, biology should not be presented in a merry manner of a teacher talking, and the learner just following. No, there must be a learner-centered approaches. A teacher should be a facilitator. You are facilitating, you are allowing learner not only to work in groups, but you are allowing participation. You are allowing learner to give their views, their comments on a specific topic. You are stimulating their thinking skills. You are facilitating in the manner that stimulating their thinking skills so that they can remember, and not only that they can remember when they are writing exam, but you are teaching them to have that knowledge for the rest of their life. So learner-centered approaches, you need to understand the advantage as well as the disadvantage. The disadvantage in terms of time consuming, that is one disadvantage. It is time consuming. But the advantages are numerous, where you have active learning, active participation, learner are involved, learner are valued, and in this situation you are also enabling learner to learn from each other. It's not only the knowledge of a teacher that is being shared, it's also the knowledge from the learners that is being shared here. Now, advantage of eating a balanced diet. Now, this is a methodology, yes, but we need also to look at the content of the subject that we are teaching. Meaning that we are not only looking at the how, but how are we going to teach that content? So meaning that we should also look at bring in some content of the biology. The advantage of eating a balanced diet. What is the advantage of eating a balanced diet? For example, roughage, it prevents constipation. Advantage of eating sugar food. Advantage of eating sugar food, it provides us with energy. And the energy enable us to carry out different activities, both physical activity or chemical activity. There are clearly steps that are given in your modules on the advantage of eating sugar, why it is important to eat sugar. Now, in biology, we have open-ended question in biology. Now, whether we are setting a test or whether we are setting a worksheet or a project, there are open-ended questions in biology. For example, discuss the importance of conservation. It's an open-ended. It doesn't require close answer like a multiple choice. So in that, or explain this, suggests ways of reducing population in our country. So those are open-ended questions. And why are they important? Because it's important in the sense that they can allow you to understand and to hear learner's view. And that it's important because these are the learner in that environment, and this is the knowledge that they are having. So open-ended question is important in biology, and we must encourage them. We are thankful in a sense that one of our assessment, especially paper 2 and paper 3, are open-ended questions. So we must encourage open-ended question, although we must also have a portion of closed-ended question, but we must also encourage. With open-ended question, you need to look at the advantage. What are the open-ended questions in biology? What is the advantage of using open-ended question? Motivation strategy. Motivation is a very important concept in education. When you teach learner and the learner are dismotivated, it influences the result very much, especially for the underachiever. Now, there are motivation strategy for underachiever as well as for their parents, the parents of these children that are underachiever. If these children are motivated correctly and using the motivation strategy that is given in your modules there, these children are more likely to achieve the best results in biology. Now, the biology content, in your modules there is a biology content also. Please familiarize yourself with that biology content. How to teach enzyme, why it's important for the learner to teach enzyme. That is also important because it helps learner to understand that if my body temperature rises, it's vital for me to go to the hospital, because if my enzyme got denatured, I may die. This may be very consequences. It's also very important because it also helps a learner when they are cooking an egg so that they don't overcook it. Because again, the enzyme will denature. Again, they also help a learner to understand the importance of enzyme in the seed, that it helps to germinate the seed. How specifically? It helps to digest insoluble nutrients into soluble so that these nutrients can be used by the seed to grow. They also help to understand the importance of nutrition, why it's important for animal and plant to have water, why it's important for them to take in nutrients, as well as chromosomes. Now, what is the importance of chromosome in our cells? You also need to look at that. Teaching responsibility and safety in biology classroom. Biology is a practical subject. So in our classroom, some of the teachers do not have lab, so they do conduct practicals in their labs. Now, conducting practical in their labs, you need to emphasize the issue of teacher responsibility and safety. It's a teacher responsibility to make sure you teach the learner on the importance of making sure that you are safe, the safety concept introduced when you are carrying out practical, especially when you are hitting. There are a lot of things that you need to hit. You can either, you are carrying out a test on glucose, reducing sugar, non-reducing sugar, you need to hit. And when you are hitting, you need to make sure the learners should not play with a flame. The learner should not play with a match. You should teach them. So this aspect is on, this topic is on the teaching responsibility and safety in biology. Why it is important? There are key elements that are given clearly there under teaching responsibility and safety in biology classroom. Challenges in biology. There are challenges that hinder effective teaching and learning in biology. One of the main challenges people are talking about is lack of apparatus. We don't have a thermometer. We don't have test tube. We don't have the beakers. We don't have a Bunsen burner. Some people have those challenges. So it's very important to look at those challenges effectively because they are really there that hinder effective teaching and learning in biology. Those challenges will also help you to understand and how to come up with better ways of using, carrying out the material that are on your disposal to still help learner to learn, to still carry out practicals. Now, the tips to integrate when teaching, when you are teaching with teaching aid. There are certain tips that are there that you need to consider when you are teaching and you are also using teaching aid. For example, when you are using the games, you should not only let one child, only certain children that should play with each other. Everyone should participate because once everyone participates, everyone in that classroom learn. So also teaching aid, especially when you are integrating them, it should not be done to each and every topic. There are certain topics that you need to choose from that you really think help learner to understand a topic. Now, the next thing that I would like to look at, the characteristic of school culture. A school culture that you have at school promote good learning. If there is a school culture of seriousness, if the school culture of punctuality, if the school culture of making sure the teacher is in a classroom teaching, is the school teacher of valuing education, the valuing of learning, the valuing of learner, the valuing of assessment. So we do have some characteristic of a school culture. So you really also need to know them. Now, we have some principle for the development and the designing of integrated assessment approaches. Now, we started with how you should, what is learning, what is teaching, how you should teach, how you should create a better learning environment, the teaching and the learning in terms of learner-centered approach. Now, what are some of the broad principles that you should put in place in order to design an integrated assessment approaches? You need to assess. Once you taught a certain content, you need to assess for the two reasons. Mainly, to see whether the learner master the content, so that when the learner master the content, that can help you to make a decision either to continue with the next content or you need to repeat, or you need to give a certain assessment again that will help learner to understand the topic much better. Idea of setting up a high-level multiple choice. There are quite amazing ideas in your modules on how to set up a higher level multiple choice. Yes, we are not saying high level is only for ordinary level. You can set up a multiple choice, but that multiple choice is assessing the higher level of thinking. It's assessing synthesis, it's assessing evaluation, it's assessing this really high level of knowledge. So there are interesting ideas in stipulated there. Ways of helping learner to understand multiple choice. There are best way to help learner understand multiple choice. For example, as you give the multiple choice, indicate to the learner that in that multiple choice answer, there is an answer, but there is also distraction, but they are almost related to the correct answer. Meaning that when we go back to the idea of setting up, when you set up your multiple choice, it must be, let's say for the example, the multiple choice is about the immune system. Your distraction should also be related to the immune system, not the digestive system. Because once your distraction are related to the immune system, that can help a learner not to get the answer immediately, but to really think and apply the knowledge so that the learner can, so that the assessment tool really assess what it's supposed to assess. Good. The concept of formative and summative assessment. Now, you need to assess. Assessing is to check, to judge. You need to make some judgment on whether the learner understood or mastered the content that you gave them. Now, what is formative assessment? Formative assessment is a type of assessment that is done in over a short period of time. It can be either at the end of the week, it can be either at the end of the day when you teach, for example, homework, test. Those are formative assessment activity. What is the importance of formative assessment? It informs, it gives you immediate information on how the learner understands a specific topic. Formative assessment must be done on a regular basis so that it informs you exactly how that specific learner is within those topics that we have taught. Summative assessment is a type of assessment which is done at the end of the term or at the end of the year. So you can see the duration. It's done over a long period of time. It's a summary of the term. It's a summary of the year. Therefore, majority try to avoid carrying out summative assessment, try to have a lot of formative assessment and then a summative assessment. Because once you find out that a learner is not doing well at the end of the term, at the end of the year, that will not help you to help that learner understand the topic. So I'm going to say this again. You need to know what is formative assessment, what is summative assessment. I would also perhaps looking at you tabularize, you give me the difference between formative and assessment in terms of, for example, formative assessment is done over a short period of time. Summative assessment is done over a medium to long term time. You should also be able, formative assessment in terms of example, such as homework, project, test, topic test, those are formative assessment. Summative assessment activity are such as a mock examination, the external examination, or end of the term examination. So, but it's vital to assess, because assessment enable us to provide us with information on whether the learner understood the topic or not. It is not about us whether we know how to teach, but it's about whether the learner received, understood the content that was presented to them, or whether the objective was met, the stated, the specific objective in the syllabus. Now, you cannot just have assessment activity. The last bulletin, it is the benefit of giving regular feedback. In biology, every after assessment activity. Now, whether it's a formative or summative assessment, it's very important to give feedback. And feedback must be, it should not take long. It must be immediate. Because feedback enhances learning. Immediately when the learner wrote an activity, an assessment activity, and you finish marking it, and you give back their test script, you need to provide feedback. Feedback enhances learning, and it also allows learner to identify where they've gone wrong. You should also be able to give a general understanding on what was most of the learner response toward a specific question, and how they should learn in future so that they don't repeat the same mistake in either in a summative assessment or in the next formative assessment. So you should also be able to look at the benefit of giving regular feedback in biology after every assessment activity. As I said, such as those benefits of giving regular feedback are such as it enhances learning. It helps learner to understand and to identify their mistake, which promote learning. Thank you very much. For any information, please, again, contact me at that following email address or the telephone number regarding a specific topic in biology didactic that you came across that you don't understand. I'm wishing you, everyone, all the very best. Please work hard, do your best. Thank you.